What's happening, everyone? Welcome to That Millwall Podcast, live as always over on YouTube and also on audio. My name's Omar. Joining me today, I have Ben Green. Hello, mate. You all right?
Full name me again, mate. It's just you can't not do it. Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. We're going to obviously recap Preston. Ben was at the game yesterday. Northern correspondent on a Tuesday night comes in now, mate. We need to get that one in as well. So, we'll also talk about the game in detail. Obviously, cover the 1-1 draw away at Deepdale. Obviously, talk about some talking points from the game, talk about the goals. Obviously, the Serb notched another goal for the season. I think that's his sixth for Millwall this season. We'll also go and talk about other talking points and obviously various bits and bobs from the game. So I'm going to run the intro and we'll go straight into it.
Language you don't usually hear on television. Millwall in London's Dockland.
No one likes us, but we don't care. We're That Millwall Podcast. Loud every Friday night right here. Legends like Jimmy and Abdul take a share in the kitchen or two. Superhero Harry's a fucking legend too. Through the good times and the strife, we support the Lions all our life. This ain't no place for fancy feet. This is fucking Millwall through and through. Located on our very own John Pedersen way. Let them all come, let them have their say. Millwall till we die. With That Millwall Podcast, loud every Friday night right here.
And there you have it. If you are new around here, be sure to like, subscribe, and give us some feedback about what you think about me and Ben are going to talk about. We do come at you in the comments, reply to everything you've got to say, and just be good to get your insights. Ben, 1-1 draw yesterday night, away to Deepdale, away to Preston at Deepdale, should I say. Alex Neil's old club. You was there, mate. Give us just a synopsis of what you felt, how it went last night, mate.
I've gone through when I was there. I thought they were there for the taking. Well, let me start again. Pre-game, mate, I would have taken a point. I thought Tuesday night, midweek game, Preston are doing all right at the minute. Just thought I would have taken a point. So in that aspect, I think it was a decent point. The game itself, we started really well. First 5 minutes, I thought we kept the ball really well, considering how bad the pitch was. And I'm sure we'll go on to that in a bit more detail. Knocked it around really well. After that, we kind of really then just lacked a bit of energy and it was a little bit lethargic, certainly defensively. I think from Alex Neil, since he's come in, the one thing that I've been really impressed with is our off-the-ball work and how well we have pressed at times. That was really, really lacking, I felt, at times yesterday, or pretty much for the whole game yesterday. We made it pretty easy for Preston at times. It was interesting to see how we lined up. It would look like it was a little bit of a formation change to what we've seen. Came away from it and I thought the draw was a fair result. Having watched it back today, I think we've done well to get a draw. And I think they'll be pretty gutted having the chances that they did, mate, to not come away with 3 points, to be honest. So all round, you can probably tell by how I've just described that, mate. It was a pretty drab performance from us, really. We didn't really create a huge amount. Unbelievable goal from Mihailo, great free kick. He had that looping header, didn't he, mate? But that was half chance at best. Apart from that, Bangor Williams created a little bit in the second half, didn't he? That sort of half chance again. Aziz had a similar one. But outside of that, mate, we didn't create anything. So, listen, Northern game, Tuesday night, 350 travelling Millwall fans. Fair play to every one of them that made the trip up. It was a bit of a meh game, to be honest, mate. As I say, from my summary there, you can probably get how it was. It was a good point. It was a good point considering how we played and circumstances.
Never fear if you're watching or listening. We probably will go on for about 45 minutes of rambling here. So I know we've probably got, if you think, not much to talk about, but there's plenty we can talk about, me and him, about football. So we'll do that. I mean, you mentioned the lineup, mate. We'll go on to that first. Obviously, on the face of it, it looked like a couple of changes. Obviously, Bangor Williams was back in the sides. Or it was actually just the one. No, it was one change, wasn't it? Bangor Williams in for Connolly. So obviously, on the face of it, you're thinking 4-2-3-1. You mentioned rightly about the formation. I kind of noticed the early doors on the telly. I was thinking Aziz is quite deep on the right-hand side. quite purposefully, I think, to match up to their back five as well, Preston. So it was kind of almost back three of Crammer, Tangango and Cooper. Aziz playing right wing back, left wing back with Joe Bryan, midfield two of Billy Mitchell and de Norre. And then you kind of had the three up front kind of rotating around with Bangor, Williams, Kundal, and obviously then Ivanovic leading the line. Yeah, what did you make of that anyway? Because I think obviously at first on the face of it, I thought, yeah, good to see Bangor Williams back in. Obviously he's been absent recently. He goes on to get injured in the second half, which we'll come on to in a bit, I'm sure. But it kind of, I felt like early doors, like you mentioned, we started well, and I feel like Preston changed up to it and smarted up to what we was doing a little bit. It felt like at the time. I don't know what you thought watching it, mate. Yeah,
on the formation, initially it just looked like Kundal was playing wide left, Bangor Williams was in the 10, and Aziz was wide right. And then as they got into the game a bit more higher up the pitch, you could then see how we went into that sort of back three, back five, and Aziz playing a little bit deeper. We've heard rumblings of Alex Neil wanting to sort of play that back three, back five, whatever way you want to look at it. But I think that's the first time we've probably seen it in action. Yeah. Kundal certainly was higher and wider up on the left-hand side earlier, and certainly in the first half. It seemed like we went to match them up rather than us imposing properly what we wanted to do. And again, probably one of the first times we've seen Alex Neil do that. I thought Aziz was excellent first half. Again, looked like our main outlet, looked really threatening every time he got on the ball. Probably something, again, we'll come on in a bit more detail later, mate. But I thought for the first time now, or in recent games, we're starting to see Crammer look like a centre-back playing right-back. He gave the ball away a couple of times, which we haven't seen. And I'm not going to knock him because he's been excellent, obviously. Yes. But just it felt like it last night. He looked like a centre-half playing at right-back. It was an interesting one, the formation piece, mate. It felt like, for me, we missed Kundal being in the 10 as well. It felt like Bangor Williams was a little bit off it. It felt like Neil certainly went to match them up rather than us sort of impose ourselves on Preston.
It was telling because after the game, he also referred to it, Alex Neil, didn't he? He kind of say, like, we did kind of play to match him up. I think, obviously, if you have two fit right backs, Brian Leonard being the optimal choice there, obviously, it might change things up a little bit. But it did. I felt like at times it also then made less of an option up front. I feel like at times Kundal had the ball, kind of went on a mazy run and then lost the ball, but almost because of lack of options up there as well.
That was noticeable, mate. Yeah, it definitely was that. It felt like he got us up the pitch a couple of times and he had to turn back or stop or try and win a foul because we didn't have anything else further up the pitch. It didn't seem like Bangor Williams and Kundal played that close together at times, and we kind of needed them to, as you say, to get us up or to get us to keep the ball higher up the pitch. But yeah, that was definitely noticeable.
I think also then it's interesting that he did match up. I mean, going into the game, you mentioned obviously taking the draw. I was kind of the same. I was thinking my head says a draw, heart says nick it 2-1. You know, we've got a good record up there. And after the performance on Saturday, you're thinking, right, you can hopefully crack on and do it again on Tuesday. It's difficult to do. Obviously, midweek up north, all the shenanigans to it. Like you said, 350 fans there. Atmosphere does play a part in that as well, mate. But it is interesting that we did match them up. But then I think when you look at Preston's form of late, I think a lot of people were quite frustrated yesterday, but they're not lost. I think they've lost one game in 10, for example. And Heckenbomb's got them well organised. You can tell like they're kind of a well-drilled side as well, mate. And on the face of it, even though, like you said, performance wasn't that great, the point up there is nothing to be sniffed at, I feel like.
Yeah, mate, I'm definitely more in that camp. It was a very good point in the circumstances. We weren't at it. All the other bits you mentioned, the Northern Tuesday night, all that sort of thing. The atmosphere does play a part, definitely, mate. It was like a training game the first 20 minutes. Yeah. It was absolutely dead. And look, you can't expect much from us in terms of having 350 up there. But it was, even from their side, it was dead. It was, there was no energy to it. It was just completely flat. So I can probably understand why the players maybe felt a little bit flat playing in that as well. But yeah, it's definitely a good point. Yeah. At any point on the road in the Championship, I always say it is a good point. And again, it's almost like it's not a Plymouth just wipe your hands of it, but it kind of feels like that. It was just a point, move on to Saturday type thing.
Yeah, for sure, I agree with you. I mean, let's talk about the game anyway. First 15, 20 minutes, like you said, we started well, but then he has to make a save, doesn't he? I think Cooper kind of gets flat-footed at one point for the first chance, and Yates makes a smart save, doesn't he, mate? And then after that, another goal mouth scramble for Preston. Aziz clears one off the line, keeps it 0-0. kind of rode our luck a little bit at times. But like you mentioned, though, we was keeping the ball well, at least it felt like in the first half, and looked on the break occasionally with Aziz like we could make trouble with it. But we did ride our luck a little bit with the goal mass scramble, didn't we?
Yeah, and I don't know who it was that with their first chance, but that was literally the first time they had the ball, mate. We kept it really well up until that, and certainly looked like we were going to be the better team or the side on the front foot. And they sort of made 2 passes, and it was like, fucking hell, they're in on goal here.
Yeah,
I think they'll be really disappointed. I don't know who it was from their side. Can you hear my little one screaming in the background? I don't know who it was from their side, but he'll be disappointed with that. I think Heckingbottom will be disappointed with it. I think he must have been on his weaker foot, just the way in terms he struck it. And then the goalmouth scramble, it resulted in them flicking it over the bar, didn't it, from that goalmouth scramble? Yeah. They'll kind of go, how's that not going in the back of the net? Sure. So, for me, probably lucky to be in front going into the break. But, yeah, we did look lively at times, mate, certainly on the break. As you say, Aziz looked good. I thought Kundal did well, considering he was isolated a bit. And I just as a whole, I thought Billy and Casper had really good first halves.
I do agree with you. Let's talk about the goal then. The Serb, I mean, I kind of did make a comment in the last show on Monday night. He's not scored in 4 in the league. Not that again he's back, because I felt like, especially when he scored, a couple of run games, obviously against Luton and Portsmouth, it's almost like his Steve Morrison arc is pending a little bit. It felt like this is it. He's going to go on that run now and score plenty. He's not performed necessarily bad. I thought Saturday was probably maybe one of his slightly worse performances maybe against West Brom, but I think that was probably due to being a bit isolated up top at times. But he answered any sort of that with a free kick like that, man. I mean, wow, it came out of the blue, didn't it, really?
It did. And I think the biggest thing for that was Joe Bryan had 2 free kicks, one on either side before that, and he hit the wall. And Mihailo, certainly on the first one on the left-hand side, he looked like he was going to take the first one. I actually thought it was good. And Aziz kind of was on the other side with Joe Bryan. But listen, he hit the wall twice, so I thought that third one he was always going to hit it. What a strike! It seems like it's caught everyone by surprise, didn't it, mate? Because it seems like Alex Neil said he's never seen him take a free kick before. Mihailo said he's never taken one in a game before. So, listen, unbelievable technique. Great goal. Just want to touch upon the point you made there, mate, about him being isolated. He was last night, and I actually tweeted about it today. It was quite weird. Jensen had the ball at his feet a lot in that first half. I certainly took a lot of goal kicks and had an opportunity to play it out. And he went long every single time. And he got a little bit of stick from the fans, or he could obviously hear us shouting at him. And he turned around and gestured to the fans like, sort of, what do you want me to do, almost? Something that I'd never seen from him. And then he ran over, when we scored, he actually ran over to the bench. And it was almost like he was sort of saying, what do you want me to do? It felt like he was saying, I'm doing my part, Mihailo's not doing his, or someone up top's not doing their thing. But it was just a weird thing to see. You obviously see midfielders or forwards go over to the bench and get some instructions, but it was almost like he was looking for that. But my whole point to that, mate, was he was very isolated. We played very direct at times, or certainly Jensen did to him, and he had no chance really in that first half. But mate, an unbelievable strike, unbelievable goal. And his highlight reel of goals this season is now starting to look quite impressive, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Mio drag on Twitter, I don't know what the relation is there. Some people say it's his uncle, some people say it's his cousin, some people say it's just a fan, or who knows, probably a family friend, what it could be. But he called it, didn't he? He said he's got a free kick in as well, which is quite funny. He predicted the goals, through on goal, left foot, right foot. And obviously the catalogue of goals, you're right, a bit incredible, ain't they, mate? But he's only 20, 6 goals now, I think, in 25 games. He's probably had about 10 to 15 starts. I can't pinpoint exactly what it is without checking. But regardless, at 20, I think the isolation point and winning the headers is definitely something to be wary about. But I think we've said it previously on shows. I definitely remember saying it to you, like, once he gets a full season under his belt, a pre-season as well, to try and maybe come back from summer, look a bit stockier, maybe kind of build a bit of muscle up there, it could then lead to him kind of being that complete forward almost, mate. You see the goals. I don't want to get too carried away, but I'm going to get carried away with it a little bit.
Yeah, and listen, I was one to probably write him off too quickly. I will say that. I didn't think he had the ability that he's shown, the technique that he's shown. Look, he's been excellent. I think we're all starting to get excited now by him, mate. He scored every type of goal. And again, just to touch upon that piece, of his hold-up play is definitely improved. The balls that were going towards him last night were more aimless, as I say, goal kicks where he's competing against two centre-halves. It wasn't like they were going into his feet or he had a chance of bringing it down. He was they were going up to him and he was trying to flick it on. And at times they weren't even near him, mate. So his hold-up play in general, I think Omar has definitely improved. So, yeah, look, he's getting better in every facet of his game. He seems to be working harder off the ball as well. His press is decent. Look, very exciting, mate. And it'd be exciting to see next year, as you say, having had a full pre-season and obviously more time with us, what he can do next year. So, yeah, exciting to have him up there, mate.
I think I'll come on to the hold-up talk and obviously about it being isolated. It was interesting, obviously, second half, jumped forward a little bit, but obviously Josh Coburn came on as a sub and obviously welcome back Coburn. Obviously Marco came off the bench as well towards the end, mate. But I think you saw from Coburn, even there was one moment, I remember the second half by the dugout, he wins a free kick. He holds the ball up, kind of flung at him, holds it up, turns around, wins the free kick. He has that in his locker, doesn't he, Coburn, as opposed to, you could say, to Ivanovic a little bit. That's clearly probably what I feel like Coburn brings to the table. Great to have him back, mate. And obviously, with Ivanovic, he's had that real run of games now where he's had the test to kind of be there every game. He's plucking away, like you said, working at it. But I think Coburn coming back could be a real game changer as well, mate, with the options that were up top.
Yeah, mate, it was an interesting one because with the changes he could have made and how we were playing, bringing Coburn on at that time or not taking Ivanovic off for Coburn was probably one of the last things on my lists of changes. So it was interesting. It seemed like for 5 minutes, we almost went 4-4-2. And we had another 5 minute spell then, because I don't think Preston knew how to match us up. I say we had a little spell then. It'll be interesting again to see if Alex Neil's plans are to eventually play two up top, or to try and get Coburn and Ivanovic in the same side. That'll be interesting. And it will also be interesting to take that almost target man element away from Ivanovic and just let him play on the shoulder and just be a bit more of a number 9, I guess, rather than having to do that hold-up play like he's being asked to do at the minute. But, yeah, to your point, great to see Coburn back. I'd like to see him stay fit now to the end of the season. Certainly, if we're going to have aspirations or wants to try and sign him in the summer, mate, I'd like him to stay fit. Again, I think you saw his attributes, like you said last night, in terms of how he can benefit us going forward, mate. He does hold the ball up really well. His link-up play's good. He's just more physical. He was being manhandled last night, mate, as well. And some of the decisions he didn't get, I don't know if you saw it or it came across on the telly, but the centre-halves at times were literally hands around his neck trying to sort of tackle him when balls were going into him. So, good to have him back. And I say, interesting to see how Alex Neil sees that forward line, front two or one, or where he fits in moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. I think also Marco being back as well, mate. I think as he's coming back, it's highlighted the lack of pace we almost had. I feel like Aziz is just electric on the ball, I feel like, and proving a lot of people wrong. But Marco, I think he has that kind of last 15 minutes in him, doesn't it? I feel Harris labelled him a sub player. I don't want to coin him into that too much either, but the pace he's got, like you always feel like even at the end there where Preston are kind of knocking on the door a bit, like I'm thinking all he needs to do is get one ball through to Marco here, mate, and we're on our way. I think there's a moment where he tried to take on a couple of players right at the left, and like, what are you doing? But if you get him on the last shoulder through on goal, mate, it's good to have that option back off the bench anyway.
You're probably asking the worst person in the world to talk about Amaku, mate. Listen, he did that at the end, and he ran 30 yards and never had it under control once. No. Every touch was nearly a tackle. Listen, he's a
pace merchant, isn't he? He is a pace merchant, I feel like. He's going to prove us wrong by saying that. But I like that kind of thing to have off the bench, was what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's another option, mate. We haven't seen him under Alex Neil yet. If Alex Neil can improve him, I think he'll need it. It was interesting, the Negley versus him. And I got why Negley probably didn't come on. It was a bit more, certainly at the end, where they were putting us under a bit of pressure, it probably was a bit more, get Amaku on for his pace and we can probably turn him, get us up the pitch quicker. But talking about Amaku a bit more specifically, I just don't know where. I don't know. Again, it'd be interesting to see where Alex Neil fits him in. For me, I think he could be one that we end up moving on. Certainly with the signs that we've made. Listen, people are going to say you've written him off. He's been out injured. Yeah, people, I get that. I just haven't seen what a lot of people seem to have seen in him. And he's got it in there. He played well at Preston last year.
He played up front, didn't he?
Played up front, yeah. He did well there. Then he started, didn't he, against Sheffield United, and he was. You might as well have not bothered. He was. Yeah, he wasn't good. But anyway, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Alex Neil does with Emakhu. It is another option. Just on that, the bench yesterday, what a difference that made. How strong it looked. It was, we could have changed it in any which way. We obviously did change formation. We're going 2 up top. It's nice to have those options now. We're looking like we have got a really, really strong bench as well, mate. So that was good to see.
Definitely. There's still players to come back as well, isn't it? It feels like so exciting to have that kind of position to be in. I think just lastly, Marco, you could probably say exactly the same thing with Coburn there. Like, just injuries as well, isn't it, mate? Like, just got to stay fit.
Yeah, he's got to stay fit. Yeah, he's got to stay fit
and make himself an option and just be consistent. And that's what you get to see, really, from him, I suppose. Let's talk about the second half then, anyway, just a little bit. Obviously, 1-0 half time gets off to the worst start second half, doesn't it, mate? I mean, what's your take on the goal, I suppose, what was your first take? And then what was it when you see it back? I'm intrigued to see what you thought of the game and then maybe what you felt after watching it back. Is it the same or was it different?
There, it felt like, well, you just expect Jaff to win the header or you expect him to do better. Yeah, basically. Yeah. That's what I originally thought. As soon as it dropped, I was like, he's going to hit this. And it looked like Jensen could do nothing. Having seen it back, I still expect Jaff to do a bit better. And I also expect Jensen, probably a bit harshly, to do a bit better. It looks like he's a little bit flat-footed, probably being harsh there, and people are going to scream at me for that. But this is a terrible... They were so up for it coming out the blocks. Yeah. As soon as that went in, their 2 centre-halves, they went off and celebrated, and you wouldn't have seen it on the telly, but they were literally going out, they were calling them back. So they obviously got a rocket at half-time, and they obviously wanted to start really quickly, which they obviously did. And I felt then after that, we kind of weathered... I was expecting them to just obviously bombard us, but we weathered the storm a little bit then. But yeah, terrible times to concede, mate. My opinion of it changed slightly, having seen it back on the replay. But I still felt like Jaff should have maybe done a bit better. Just a terrible time to concede, isn't it?
Definitely, mate. I think it was interesting because like the reaction online or in the groups and stuff when you're watching at home and stuff, it's quite quick to get on Jensen a little bit. And I was like, for me anyway, like, just got to do better with it. But also, Jensen's got to be further up in case he decides to head it home to the keeper. So he's got to be ready to come off his line and sweep it out there, I felt like. Then he's scrambling back and he's trying to then obviously make himself back on the line. And then, Riis hits it and it's good connection. It goes in. Do you know what I mean? Like, he done the right thing, the striker. And I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing him sign.
It wasn't in the bottom corner, was it? No. It was quite central. Again, having seen it back, and I didn't really see that there. But yeah, having seen it back, it was quite central. It did also, I think, I'm assuming it went over Crammer or Coop. Like, it was quite close to one of them in terms of, not that they could head it, but it looked like he might have been a little bit blind. I'm assuming it must have been Coops. He was a little bit blind from it, so he might have seen it a little bit late. But having seen it back, I was a little bit like, oh, could Jensen have done a bit better with that? He didn't fulfil me with confidence at all last night, I've got to be honest. And it wasn't just that piece, like you said there, he was sort of in a bit of no man's land. There was a chance, sort of 88, 90 minutes where they broke, and he was like, he didn't know if he was coming or not. And corners, he looked shaky. They obviously then started to target him. They literally sat on top of him from set pieces. I've not been a Jensen or a Roberts fan, should we say, or calling for Roberts to get in the side. So, he did fulfill me with confidence last night, mate, I've got to say.
It's interesting, because that's why I brought it up as well, because I think like because of the performances of Roberts, that kind of critique of Jensen is creeping in a bit more and more. So when he first came in, it was a bit like, obviously, conceded 3 against Watford, conceded 4 against Bristol City. You could tell like it was like a tricky position for him to be in. He rode the storm out. He made some good saves in games to keep us in them, and he's been a good player for us, and he has in general. I remember obviously we've done the pre-season predictions. I went with Roberts in goal because I really like Roberts, to be honest. Like, I think he's that calming presence. I think we've seen that in them couple of games. Trouble is, then it's like that's putting pressure on Jensen. I feel like that's getting to Jensen almost, like because he's clearly a confidence goalkeeper, but the size of him, like in the first half, that goal mouth scramble, when you watch it back, like he gets a little barge on the back, he hits himself on the floor trying to buy a free kick, and he just flaps a lot when the ball's in these boxes and thrown at him. And clubs will pick up on that, and teams will pick up on that, won't they, mate? And I think that's the real kind of.
They did second half. They did second half, mate. And yeah, exactly that. They picked it up in game. They went from. They obviously had a corner routine worked out, and then second half it was they just flooded the 6-yard box, and it was just get it under the bar. So they obviously didn't feel like we had confidence, or he had confidence in himself coming from corners. But listen, Roberts is doing all the right things. He's putting in great performances, and he's endearing himself to the fans. Can't talk tonight. Just in terms of his fist pumping after Pompey, obviously come over with the same thing at Leeds, obviously the penalty save at Leeds. So he's doing all the right things. I'm no doubt that there is pressure on Jensen. He is probably feeling it a bit. But again, mate, it's a good place to be in, right? You've effectively got two number ones.
What would you do? Like, I mean, it's difficult because I feel like we've spoken about it a lot of the last couple of shows, but you've not been on to give your opinion. What would you do? Like, for me, Jensen is the investment, isn't he? He's the younger goalkeeper of the two. We spent money on him. You drop him and he doesn't play for the rest of the season, I feel like it'd almost kill him off almost. And that sounds ridiculous to say, but he strikes me as such a confidence person that it'll kill him off almost. Yeah,
I'm banging that camera. He does just seem like he seems like a player that needs an arm around him constantly, and constantly needs to be told how good he is and that sort of thing. There was actually an interesting tweet I saw today, and it basically said, had Roberts played all season, would we have more points on the board? And there's an argument to be made that yes, we would. So in that instance, you'd have to say Roberts. But look, I'm still not on the Jensen out the side bandwagon. I think you got to stick with him. One thing I will say again, I said it to my old man, and just on going back to the Ivanovic thing, his kicking is shit. It's bad. And I as I say, I don't mean. When we are going long, I get times in games you have to, but it has to be in an area in which Ivanovic or someone can at least make an effort to win it or try and do something with it. His goal kicks, etc., last night were 15, 20 yards away or long over Ivanovic's head. And for a keeper in the Championship, I just don't get how you can do that consistently, be that bad. You might say 1 or 2 out of 5 maybe might be bad, but his 5 out of 5 gave Ivanovic no chance. So that's something he's got to work on. But I think again from all the Lincoln reviews of him, they said he's a very good shot stopper, but he's not great at his feet, right? So yeah.
What do you want him to keep his feet? Do you want him to be more? He is
a good shot stopper, mate. He is a good shot stopper. I know we said he probably could have done better with the goal, but he is generally a good shot stopper. So long-winded answer to your question, I don't know, but I'll stick with Jensen.
Yeah, that's it. I think, like I said, I'm kind of edging with you, but I feel like it's almost like Jensen's like, it's up to you, Jensen, but then it's almost like, go on, Jensen, shoot yourself in the foot, it feels like. Because, like, I feel like I think everyone's starting to see the Roberts clamour, and it's like, it's almost inevitable, it feels like it's going to happen.
Here's a better question then. Who starts in the FA Cup?
It's got to be Roberts, isn't it? But then this is the thing. If I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if we beat Palace 1-0, he saves another penalty or something stupid, or he has a man of match performance, and then the next game, Jensen chucks one in. It's like, what do you do? It's like, if you're Alex Neil, like I feel like you've got to play Roberts in the next cup game. But then if Jensen's your man, do you maybe go, you got to chuck Jensen in and keep him in so that Roberts can't oversee him? Do you know what I mean?
How does Jensen then feel? Arguably, probably undoubtedly is our biggest game of the season, and he's been dropped. Is there an argument to say, well, Roberts is our cup goalkeeper?
Yeah,
no, he is our cup goalkeeper, but you're going into that. It's almost like, as I say, you want to put your best side out there. So how does he then view that if Roberts does play? But then if Roberts doesn't play, how does he view that given what he's done at Leeds? So that's going to be an interesting one. I do agree, but I think Roberts will start.
You could also almost say Jensen's made it himself his own enemy because he went off injured against Luton. He got stretchered off. I'm not disputing he was injured or whatever, but like he sat out them couple of games. Then look, like,
and
then it's like he goes off injured, stretchered, and it's like I'm not saying I don't know what the nature of the injury even was, to be entirely honest with you, but he's back a week later. So unless it was time wasted antics and all that sort of stuff, like he just like I don't think David Ford would have done that, for example, is what I'm trying to say. I think he'd have done everything in his power to play. I'm not saying Jensen thought I'll sit this one out. I don't think that, but it's an interesting one there because maybe it's a bit about the character almost element to it as well. You could say.
Yeah, I mean, we won't know if it was it can't have been a time wasting thing because he missed 2 games, right? So,
but then he got stretched off. Like if you're getting stretched off, mate, like there's some sort of leg injury, like you're going to miss a few games, not 1 or 2. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Just it's food for thought, nonetheless, mate, isn't it? I suppose. But let's not get off. Let's get off the Jensen bandwagon anyway, because I'm sure people will say we're trying to make something out of it. But it's a talking point for sure. Yes, the rest of the second half, mate, it was just squeaky bum time, wasn't it, mate? And as that time went on, it was like the last 5-10 minutes, I was thinking it's inevitable here almost because they were, to be fair to them, and even as one occasion, I think when they put the ball over the top, like he kind of picks the player out. It's like they're playing consistently, just pinning us in under pressure, mate. And like we've got a way of getting out of a point. I felt like. Yeah,
I totally agree, mate. As the second half went on, I don't know if it is just being a Millwall fan or it's just your team, but it just felt like it was inevitable. It felt like it was just it wasn't an if, it was just a when that they were going to get going and get a second. I tell you who I was really impressed with was their right wing back, Kessler Hayden.
Yeah.
He's
on loan from
Villa, I think.
Yeah,
Villa, I think. He was excellent. You could see they were obviously doubling up on Joe Bryan, who I also thought had an excellent game. I thought he was really good. It just seemed they were pinning us back. We were getting deeper and deeper. They were playing good football. They were knocking it from side to side, as in literally from left-hand side to the right. And it felt like it was inevitable. I said they had that sort of half chance, had that one that they were through on goal. I think that actually might have been Kessler Hayden, wasn't it? I think he was through on goal.
He was,
he'd have been gutted with that. They had another half chance. I think it might have been Riis again in the second half. It was a little bit earlier than that. But listen, as I said earlier, I think if you're a Preston fan, you're coming away from that going, how the hell have we not won that game? But from our point of view, we dug in. The changes, I think, ruined the flow of the game. As I said earlier, I thought Casper and Billy were excellent. They worked really hard in midfield. Aziz ran out of petrol.
Because Billy's another one talk point. I want to go there. So what do you make of that? Billy Mitchell being back in the side last couple of games.
Well, we're going to get dogs abuse, aren't we? Because we're obviously Billy fanboys. But listen, I think from his horrendous mistake against Cardiff, I thought he was excellent at Leeds. I thought he was excellent last night. He worked really hard. He ticked the ball over well. I think he's perfect for what Alex Neil wants to do in there. I think he's done well. It's good to see Sav get a bit of a rest. Again, it's a good problem to have, mate. You've seen Honeyman now go in there. Obviously, he come on late on and went into the deeper role. It's all positives, mate, to have a bit of rotation and players that are now fit. Again, I'd like to see Billy have a sustained run in the side and keep himself fit. But we've pretty much now, again, like you do at this point in the year, is play midweek Saturday. We're going to have to rotate it. I would expect probably Sav to come back in Saturday, having not started last night. But I thought Billy had a good game, mate. I really did. As I say, I thought Aziz ran out of petrol a little bit second half, but Casper put in a tremendous effort again. I know you said you want to talk about Billy specifically, but I thought he had a good game, mate. I really did.
It's interesting one, Billy Mitchell. I think he only had 2 long-term injuries with us, and both have been in pre-season. Like, I'm pretty sure, I'm sure on that fact, because it's almost like he pushes himself too hard in pre-season trying to get himself fit for the season, because he had it before. I remember there was the joke about how Murray was the fittest player in the squad, and Billy Mitchell was like, I can take you on the bleep test or the yo-yo test, whatever they do. And I think the story is that Billy Mitchell is he ends up being sick because he's pushed himself so hard. Like, he strikes me as such a hard-working kind of person. His character and his determination to be a pro, but also play for the side and put his effort in. You can see it in his performances. And the sideways Bill connotations he gets and all that stuff from people that sit around me as well, like sideways Billy, backwards Billy. When's he going to play a forward pass? He can play a forward pass, I think. He's got it in his locker 100%. But he's a water carrier in this side. He ticks the ball over, like you mentioned, mate. And I think alongside someone like de Norre, they just strike up a good partnership, I feel like, at times. And sometimes one will bomb on and one will sit deep. And they're both very capable of doing that and are kind of managing the game with each other. And I think that is maybe it's clearly what he's done the last couple of games, and the Leeds performance as well at Eden Road. You can see that's the forming of a partnership that was there towards the end of last season as well, mate.
Listen, he did make a couple of mistakes at Leeds, didn't he? One they nearly scored from, but I think they're almost like the way we're playing now, the football we want us to play, you're always going to be a little bit susceptible to that. If you do give it away in a tight area, they're going to be sort of through on goal. We're going to lose it deep in our own half. So, yeah, listen, they're good options to have those four, as I mentioned, Sav, Billy, Casper, and Honeyman now playing a bit deeper. It's a nice problem for Alex Neil to have. It keeps the legs fresh of Sav. I think he's been obviously excellent for us really all season. Probably played more games than we all expected him to, and probably thought he was going to. So, yeah, as I keep saying, Matt, I think they're good options now to have in there.
So 13 games to go, Ben. We're coming towards the end of the show anyway, I think, so we might as well ask these questions. 13 games to go. We're 6 points off the playoffs. What are you feeling? Like, we've got injuries coming back, and to me, it's just game by game, and that old cliche of football, keep performing. You never know. Like, we had this question on the live recently as well. It's like, just see where you are come April is what I always say. But we're not far off it, mate. And I think last night, not losing, it gets you into that category of you're 6 points off instead of 7. It makes it almost feel like it's just a 2-game thing instead of the 2 games and the draw and all that stuff as well, mate. It's not a bad position to be in, is it, mate? Let's be honest, especially changing manager a couple of months ago.
No. Listen, after the Leeds game, it was obviously such a high, but we performed. We were excellent, and I said it was probably one of the best performances, if not the best away performance, footballing wise, in terms of how we played and matched Leeds up that I'd seen. I watched games last night, and I always feel like if you're going to make the playoffs, you kind of got to nick them games. Look, it's great not to lose, but they weren't million miles better than us. I know they had a lot more chances and probably, as I keep saying, came away from it and they should have won. But if we were a little bit better, or if we had half the amount of energy and sort of press that we did against Leeds, we probably would have caused them a lot of problems as well. So, again, in a long-winded answer to your question, mate, after Leeds, I actually thought we'd make a run for the playoffs. Now, I think after watching that last night, I'm kind of going, I can see why we won't make the playoffs, but I think we're just going to I think we're going to end up finishing exactly where we are. We're probably going to beat a few teams. We're going to lose some games because we've got a young squad. We're changing, that sort of thing. And I think we'll end up just probably being 6, 8, maybe 10 points off the playoffs come the end of the season.
We know that's going to happen, though, Ben. We'll win on Saturday, mate, and it's a different story.
And I'll be backing us for the playoffs and everything, like I've been doing every time we win. But again, mate, Saturday's probably a good case in point, Omar, in a sense of if we have got playoff aspirations, we probably want to go there and win. Listen, we are only 6 points. It will only take us to go on a bit of a run again, and we will be banging that picture. I think looking at our fixtures, mate, and knowing obviously who we've got to come, the away games, if we get, I don't know, 6 points maybe to the end of the season, we've probably done well, mate. We've got Sunderland, obviously, Sheffield United, Burnley, Leeds. I mean, Blackburn. I mean, they're a bit rocky now, right? So you could get a result there. Watford, obviously, maybe 6 points is a bit harsh, but we've got big teams to play away from home. And that's going to be key, really. It's going to be how many of those games do we not lose, and then can we win pretty much all of our remaining home games?
Yeah, no, you bang on, mate. That is it. I think that's the real kind of question. You look at them fixtures. But look, I think it's an opportunity, isn't it? I think Negley's an interesting one. We mentioned he didn't get on, and it was weird. He got stripped off ready to come on, mate. I don't know if you could see at the ground. And it's like, he's coming on now. And then Coburn suddenly comes on. And obviously, Neil kind of referred to the fact that maybe it wasn't a game for Negley. He's going to be tired. But he's played down the price tag figure about him as well recently. He's saying, look, forget the price tag. He's, he's really technically good. If we get the best out of him, mate, and we can start to... I really love Kundal. I think he's a perfect sign for us as well, mate. I think he's proper, like number 10 material that we want. But there is that, if you get the right balance, mate, you could go to Ellen Road again and win. You could.
Yeah. I mean, I watched them against Sunderland. They absolutely destroyed them, really, didn't they? For pretty much the whole game. Look, you can. It's a big game. We're not going to have that 1,800 strong following that we did in the Cup. They're obviously not going to make 10 changes like they did in the Cup. So, listen, yes, we could because it's Leeds and we always we do well against them. Would I be surprised if we went there and lost 3-4-0? No. So, look, as I say, I think the aim is probably going to be don't try not to lose too many games away from home, and we'll have to win all of our home games then if we're going to make a run. But look, it's doable. It is doable. We've got the quality in the side now. I do feel like, I'm not going into every game now thinking where's a goal going to come from, because we've got good technical players up the pitch now. The likes of Negley, I think we're obviously going to see more of him. I did agree with Alex Neil again on his reasoning why Negley didn't come on last night. As we touched upon the pitch, it was like a park. It was horrendous. It probably wasn't the game for him. We didn't have a lot of the ball at times. It was more little spells and on the break. So, yeah, we probably wanted to be a little bit more direct. Listen, he's going to find his feet. I think, again, coming in January is kind of a bit perfect for him because it gives him 6 months to kind of acclimatise to the league, the culture, being in England, etc. So it's almost a free hit for him this year. If he hits the ground running, great. If he doesn't, he's then got a pre-season and he goes again next year. But, yeah, mate, again, I've said it a million times already this show, they're great options to have, right? It's great options, and it's a headache for Alex Neil to try and fit all these players in.
I just can't believe we've gone from like 2 months ago playing Honeyman in the 10 consistently to having Cundall, Bangoyle, Williams, Negley. It's like, it's brilliant. Like, and yeah, it's a good problem to have, like you say, mate.
Just touching on that, mate, the injury to Bangoyle Williams, I mean, that looks, it was not a non-impact, right? So it looks like it's a muscle problem. It didn't seem like it was a tackle or anything. He just went down. No. So they're never good. I'm assuming we'll get some news about him. But he had a quiet game last night, mate. I didn't think it was the right sort of game for him. Again, the pitch was a bit scruffy. Every time he got it, he kind of didn't have a good touch, or they pressed him quite quick, and it's just another injury, I guess. But yeah, as you said, Cundall, mate, I think that Cundall in the 10 is just, it makes such a difference. I think I really like him. He's such a tiny little player.
Don't want to get too carried away, but it's like poetry in motion, mate. Like especially when he's under the pressure, he's got a big turn on it and just go and carry the ball. And he likes to get touches of the ball. Do you know what I mean? He carries it and you know what I mean? It's just for me, like if I was, I'm not a big fan of number 10 in general, being a Mill fan, of course not. Right, whatever. But he is what I'd want. Perfect. Ticks them boxes, mate.
Just us now, we've gone from probably not wanting the ball in tight areas to now we've got a lot of players that are comfortable playing in tight areas and that one-touch quick football, again, which is nice to see. Again, going back to the Jensen thing and kicking it long, there was a couple of shouts last night of keep it on the ground and let's play it out from the back. I never thought I'd hear us say that, certainly away from home. So, yeah, mate, look, I'm trying to be positive after last night. It wasn't the greatest of performances. It's a good point. We've got some exciting players going forward. Yeah, fuck it, why not? Let's have a playoff push. I've changed already. You convinced me, mate.
I just can't believe Burnley conceded 9 goals this season. To go topic before we wrap up. It's fucking mental. 9 goals in 33 games, mate.
Yeah, I mean, that is just ridiculous, isn't it? It is just ridiculous, considering we shipped 5 in 1.
And they've only lost twice this season. We've beaten once. Do you know what I mean? Like, hey, listen, we're up there. I'm telling you, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right, Ben, thanks for coming on, mate. I appreciate your time tonight.
Always, mate. Always good to have a chat. You know that.
As always. If you're new around here, please be sure to subscribe and like the video. Give us your feedback. Give us your comments. What did you make of mine and Ben's assessment of the game? Roll on Saturday. We'll be back on Friday for Friday Night Live. And if you've been watching recently, we always end, well, especially in the build-up to that certain game next week against that team in Surrey, with a certain video. Thank you very much, guys. See you soon.